listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hi there. This is Jane Kearns, and I'm reading today from the Dunkirk Observer. And the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Good morning. Actually, maybe it might not be good morning for you. It might good afternoon, whatever. Anyway, the first thing on the front page is Gowanda OK's plan after critical audit. This is from December the 3rd, Wednesday. Gowanda. This is by Braden Carman in Gowanda. In January, the Gowanda Central School District was heavily criticized by the Office of State Comptroller Thomas P. Napoli for a continued practice of overestimating the district's needs and consistently overtaxing its residents. Almost a year later, the district and its Board of Education approved a corrective action plan to remedy the comptroller's findings moving forward. The corrective action plan will be implemented December the 31st. It is overseen by Barb Smith, School Business Administrator. Even in the approval of the plan, however, the district continued to dig in its heels on the choices it has made in the first place. The district believes long-term financial stability should be the focus and priority when funding reserves and stresses the importance of having funds on hand to cover the cost of unanticipated needs. The comptroller's audit, however, stated the Gowanda Central School District and its Board of Education did not properly manage the district's fund balance and reserves, end quote. The audit, which spanned from July the 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, criticized the district for lack of transparency regarding its financial state and avoided opportunities to lower the real property taxes. According to the report, the district overestimated its budget by 14.7% over the three-year period beginning in 2020 and 2021 at an average of approximately $4.4 million per year. In the management response within this corrective action plan, the district said, quote, the district's fund balance grew over the past few years due to a large influx of federal COVID funds and foundation aid. And then we go to page 3. The district was able to reduce the unrestricted fund balance to 9.3% in 2024 and 25 due to one-time expenditures and funding reserves for our next capital project and repairs. We're fortunate to have a fund balance to pay for the needed repairs, such as the pool and parking lots and other upgrades for students, including a rubber service to the playground, end quote. The district, like many others across Western New York, does not abide by the New York State limit of 4% of budgeted expenditures to be considered as an unassigned fund balance. The district said in its corrective action plan that it considers additional guidance in its budgeting practices, such as the Government Finance Officers Association's advice to consider the reliance on state and federal aid, which has been increasingly volatile in the recent years. The district stated that it's more appropriately protect against aid reductions and or unanticipated expenditures by following the guidance of the Government Finance Officers Association, rather than abiding by the state's limits. The district has and will continue to closely monitor the fund equity in the future and will review options concerning reservations and designations to fund balance. The district has said in its response, while also noting the creation of a repair reserve fund for 2023-24. The audit recommended that the district appropriate the additional funds as it has on hand in future budgets to offset the burden on taxpayers. It's also suggested that the establishment of restricted fund accounts to be used for one-time purchases, such as capital improvements. Excuse me. In the wake of the comptroller's audit, the district is still moving forward with a major capital improvement project proposal set for a public vote on December the 9th. The project totals $44.45 million of work and comes to no additional tax impact. The reason why, however, is that it's partly due to how much money in the district has been setting aside over the past few years with upgrades in mind. The district is not raising taxes to fund the project because it already has collected the money it needs to do so. I'm glad they are doing that. If approved by voters in December, the project would be supported by $9.5 million of reserve funds. The district has emphasized that the capital reserve funds cannot be utilized for other purposes. Because of that, the district is using the most efficient method of spending to address its facilities and considering the state aid reimbursement attached to capital improvement projects. The district is also repairing its pool through an emergency repair project and improved its playgrounds and parking lots with the funds it had available. The district is also hopeful to have the pool repaired and ready for use around March. A public hearing regarding the proposed capital project has been recently held in the district, and the architects from Young and Wright present to help answer questions from the public. The hearing lasted 35 minutes, including discussion between the public aid and the district, facilitated by Superintendent Dr. Anderson. The vote will be in the library of Gowanda Middle School and from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Tuesday, December the 9th. If approved by voters, the New York State approval of the project is targeted for early 2027, with construction likely to begin in 2028 if approved by the state. And these are: reinvent the Burns block as live/workspace, $589,000. Rehabilitation of the former Welch's production facility, $145,000. Redevelop 29 to 31 Elm Street to house a mix of uses, $355,000. Expand CK Natural Juices cold-pressed beverage production capacity, $143,000. Restore the building exterior and plaza at the Patterson Library, $555,000. Redevelop the former Welch's administrative building into apartments and commercial space, $1 million. Modernize the Westfield YWCA, $457,000. Launch a community co-op for makers and entrepreneurs, $328,000. Improve community space at Eason Hall, $800,000. Improve Main Street through Main Streetscape and safety enhancements, $1,154,000. Enhance safety and tranquility at the Moore Park, $167,000. Build a covered stage structure to enhance amphitheater performances, $149,000. Create a pocket park on Clinton Street with public restrooms and bicycle repairs, $816,000. Develop community branding and comprehensive wayfinding signage, $247,000. Establish a small project fund of $600,000. Recommendations reflect months of public engagement, including workshops, surveys, and community discussions, focused on strengthening downtown and supporting local businesses. The projects will be included in a strategic investment plan, which will be submitted to New York State by the end of the year. The state will then review and select final projects to award a share of the $4.5 million in funding available to revitalize downtown Westfield. Projects that do not receive a grant award are encouraged to apply and will be prioritized for funding through other state grant programs. The Village of Westfield mayor and local planning committee co-chair Dennis Lutz said, quote, "This is an important moment. The slate of the recommended projects marks accumulation of 7 months of intensive planning and public outreach as part of the Westfield Western New York Forward program. We're confident that the state's investment in these projects will transform Westfield by attracting more residents, visitors, and businesses, as well as additional jobs and investment. A special thanks to the members of our local planning committee and to the public for their help in identifying issues and opportunities to be addressed through this process. The goals and strategies that will guide our revitalization efforts and the projects that will transform the village. I want to thank Governor Kathy Hochul for her $4.5 million commitment to Westerfield. End quote. Western New York Regional Economic Development Council and Planning Committee co-chair Michael Metzger said, "It's evident from the Village of Westfield's forward application that the community is prepared for the state's $4.5 million investment. This was reaffirmed through the 7-month planning process. From village board members to Department of Staff, local planning committee members, the business community, community-based organizations, and residents, everyone came together to identify the priorities for revitalizing Westfield, leading to this recommended slate of projects, which represents a real opportunity to transform the village." Quote, "Thanks to Western New York offices of Empire State Development, the New York Department of State, and the Homes and Community Renewal for guidance in the process and providing valuable support to ensure that a transformational outcome. I commend everyone involved in the process and look forward to the state's award announcements early next year." End quote. Collectively, New York Forward projects are intended to help create an active downtown with a mix of uses, provide diverse employment opportunities for a variety of skill sets, create diverse housing options for all income levels, provide enhanced public spaces for all ages and abilities, enhance downtown living and quality of life, encourage the reduction of greenhouse gas emission, and grow local property tax base. Projects selected for Western New York Forward grants are expected to begin construction within 2 years of the award and be completed within 5. New York State will continue to assist project sponsors throughout the implementation of this process. For more information, please visit the project website at www.westfieldsnewyorkforward.com or contact Westfield New York Forward lead planning consultant Derek Kane of La Bella Associates at dkane, K-A-N-E, at labellapc.com. Okay. So also on the front page, is Dreo Outraged by District Pact by M.J. Stafford. The Village of Fredonia ratified a new Portland, Promfit, Dunkirk sewer district contract last week. Sam Dreo thinks Fredonians should be outraged. The former village attorney, who has turned into a constant critic of Village Hall in retirement, blasted the Board of Trustees on its 3-1 vote to ratify the contract. He also complained to the Observer about the contract in an email. Dreo's main concern is that a PPD will be paying less than $8 per 1,000 gallons that village residents pay. The sewer district contracts with Fredonia's wastewater treatment plant to process sewage because the district doesn't have its own facility. The loss of this income from the county district will have to be paid by village residents in the form of higher rates and/or taxes, and it's substantial. Dreo wrote to the Observer. The county district, at a minimum, should be charged the same rate as village residents. If the county district wants to charge its users within the district of a 61% reduced rate, that's up to the county. If the village reduces its rate at the county district, the village will need to pay for the loss and increase its rate to the village residents to pay for the loss. Page 3, Dreo. Page 3. There you go. Oh, here it is. The $8 per thousand rate is what is determined necessary by the village to pay for all costs to operate and maintain the wastewater treatment plant. The reduced rate to the county district, $3.10 per thousand gallons, results in the village residents subsidizing the county sewer district for sewer service. At the trustees meeting last week, Dreo started his interrogation of Fredonia officials about contracts by wondering if the village attorneys Webster Suzanne had reviewed it. Of course they did, said Sam, responded Justice John Epperson. Every contract we sign. I don't know whether you did or not, so I'm asking the question. Don't be sarcastic, Dreo said. Dreo continued that there were major issues with this contract. He mentioned the $3.10 rate for PPD and said that it needs to be corrected. He wondered how much money is the village losing from this discount. Dreo attempted to answer his own question by asserting that the village would lose about $32,000 per quarter by offering the $3.10 rate to PPD instead of the $8 that the village residents pay. You're subsidizing an outside user, he said. He rattled off some more financial statistics, complaining that discount to the district increases under the new contract. Dreo butted up on the 3 minutes of speaking rule that Mayor Michael Ferguson and other village officials attempt to enforce on the public. Ferguson offered to meet with Dreo personally about his concerns, which the former village attorney accepted and tried to tell him his 3 minutes were up. Dreo ignored him. Ferguson, who has sparred with him over a 3-minute rule many times, just smiled. Quote, the proposed contract refers to the rate to pay for operational costs. However, there are capital costs such as debt service, engineering fees, and legal costs that need to be included, end quote. Dreyer went on. The paragraph 4 of the contract states there will not be a rate increase until the county approves a rate increase, even if the local district board approves it. The village needs to have the absolute right, whenever it feels necessary, to increase its rates to the district when it needs to do so. Ferguson again attempted to shoo Dreo away from the speaker's podium. Dreo insisted that he had 3 very important statements. He said that the contract should be clear that the BPD is responsible for negligent violation. He said the resolution should have had more public discussion and ought to be tabled. Dreo concluded that it was wrong for PPD to be paying a lower rate than village users. Oh, that's interesting. It's nice to have a retired person checking out on stuff. Bright sentiments. The Living Nativity will once again take place during the Light Up Casadega Festival on Saturday. Looks neat. Casadega. The Citizens for a Better Casadega invite everyone to their annual Light Up Casadega celebration. At 4 p.m. Saturday, Santa Claus will be arriving at Ames Common, the park at the corner of Route 60 and Maple Avenue, via fire truck. There will be hot chocolate and fire pits, while those attending can also visit Casadega's branch library for cookies and crafts. Across the street at Park Church, there will be a live nativity with initial Christmas tree lighting and caroling taking place at 5 p.m. in the park. After the tree lighting, Park Church will host Casadega Talent Show at 5:30 with holiday music provided by area residents. Sounds fun. Okay, next article is Sheridan approves Water District 4 bid by Braden Carmen. Sheridan. For over a year since the project was first approved, more than 60 customers have been waiting for the formation of Water District 4 in the town of Sheridan. Now the contracts for the project to proceed with construction have been officially approved. At a recent meeting at the Sheridan Town Board, approved the low bid for the construction of the newly formed Water District 4 South Street. George Enterprises will handle the construction of the project for $336,200. The Water District will consist of properties along the portion of South Roberts Road, Miller Road, and Route 20. The project includes installation of 62 water services, including meter pits and water meters. The service will connect to the existing water main. More than 20 residents were in attendance at a public hearing regarding the proposal of a project a year ago, along with representatives from CPL. The majority of the comments from the public were positive and in support of the project. Following public hearing last January, the town Sheridan entered into a contract with Municipal Solutions to assist with the formation of Water District 4. Also of note in the town, the Sheridan Justice Court disposed of 124 vehicle traffic law cases, 2 civil law cases, 2 penal law cases, and 1 environmental conservation law in the month of October. As a result, a total of $13,825 was collected and turned over for the town distribution. The Sheridan Town's clerk office collected a total of $199.50 in fees for the month of October, with $174.50 turned over to the town and $25 sent to the State Department of Agriculture and Markets. The Code Enforcement Office received 10 building permit applications, issued 10 certificates of occupancy and 9 certificates of compliance, and conducted 26 inspections on the construction in the month of October. Additionally, 1 complaint was investigated, 1 notice of violation was issued, and 1 stop work order was issued. A total of 129 hours worked in the month. $525 was collected in fees. The town board also authorized Code Enforcement Officer James Crowell, to attend an annual educational conference in Amherst, January 26 to 28, at a total cost of $804 for registration, meals, lodging, and chapter dues. The next meeting of the Sheridan Town Board will take place on Wednesday, December the 10th, at 7 p.m. at the Sheridan Community Center. Let's see, I think we've read everything here in the front. Entertainment says they have Polar Express to be part of Miracle on Main Street. And that is, let's see if that is something that's 6. Is it here? I don't see anything about it. On the back page I'll show that. CHQ Professionals Rotary Team for Toys for Tots. The CHQ Professionals Group partners with the Fredonia Rotary Club, will host its annual jingle at the Rocks event on Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. The holiday-themed gathering will bring together professionals from across Chautauqua County for an evening of network entertainment and seasonal cheer for a good cause. The event's open to ages 21 and older and will benefit Toys for Tots. Admission is $10 with a new unwrapped gift toy or $20 without a toy. Attendees can enjoy music, appetizers, raffles, and an ugly sweater contest. That sounds fun. This is our signature event for the year, and all proceeds go directly to Toys for Tots, said Monica Simpson, co-chair of the CHQ Professionals Group. We appreciate the continued support from our members and the community. We're grateful for partners like CHQ Professionals and the Dunkirk Fredonia Rotary Club, said Lauren Boyle, Toys for Tots representative. Their commitment helps ensure that local children wake up to a brighter, more joyful holiday season. Event sponsors include Fredonia Farm Festival, Nestle Purina, Rotary Club of Dunkirk Fredonia, DFT Communications, Larson's Timco, Funeral Home, 64 on the Rocks, the Catering Company, and Lake Erie Medical Services. Additional sponsorships and basket donations are being accepted for the holiday basket raffle. Businesses and organizations interested in contributing are encouraged to participate. The CHQ Professionals Group also distributes a monthly newsletter, shares local job postings, and continues to expand volunteer opportunities related to workforce and career development. For more information, to purchase tickets, email CHQ's Professionals at gmail.com. events.com or call 716-363-3770. Events details are available at choosechq.com/CHQ professionals. Okay, that was on the back page, and we're going to go back to the front page is done. Community Notebook. Sonos Quartet plays December 14th in the Village. On Sunday, December the 14th at 7 p.m., the Sonos Quartet will perform at Trinity Episcopal Church, 11 Day Street, Fredonia. The quartet will play works by Bach, Carl Anton Wirth, and William Grant Still, and more. The Sonos Quartet is a student saxophone quartet based out of SUNY Fredonia that strives for some mastery and to provide audience with a unique listening experience. The group is comprised by Ian Leonard, soprano, sax, Kenshaw, Georgia; Sophia Arcuri, alto sax, Syracuse; Matthew Lasher, tenor sax, Smithtown; and Matthew Schnafer, baritone sax, Salamanca. This event is free to the public and all are welcome. The Sons of Legion meet on Tuesday at Brockton. The Sons of Legion Squad 434 will hold its monthly meeting on Tuesday. The meeting is at Brockton Legion, starting at 7 p.m. Dues for 2026 are requested by January the 1st. Dues may be paid at the Legion during business hours, and all members are encouraged to attend. Parks Commission meets Thursday. The Jamestown Chautauqua County Parks Commission will be meeting at Chautauqua County at 10 a.m. Thursday for the combined November and December meeting. The public is welcome to attend. Congregation to welcome Majka, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Northern Chautauqua, UUCNC, located at 222 Temple Street in Fredonia, holds a Sunday worship service at 11 a.m., both their physical location and on Zoom. For those wishing to join us virtually, please visit tinyurl.com/CALUUCNC click on worship service on the date you are attending and scroll down to the Zoom link. For those attending the in-person service, please follow the driveway and park in the lower lot behind the building. Handicap parking is located between the two buildings and directly behind the second building. The theme for December is Choosing Hope. On Sunday, a service will include a guest speaker from Bridget Majka of Chautauqua County Rural Ministry. Majka will share her experience working at Chautauqua County Rural Ministry, CCRM, and the much-needed services it provides to our community. She's worked at CCRM for 13 years, 2 years as executive director. Her background is early childhood and social policy. She lives in Dunkirk and is married with 2 adult children. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Northern Chautauqua strives to be a vibrant, welcoming, multi-generational, diverse community enlivened by the power of radical love. For more information about us, visit our website at www.uncnc.org. Like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/UUCNC, or give us a call at 716-697-7944. We invite you to join us. A nurse becomes infuriated by screening demands. Dear Dr. Roach, how do I get primary care doctors to understand that I do not do any health screenings and that their budgeting only infuriates me more? My feeling is that if you're not going to treat me, why test me? I only need the doctor for prescriptions and referrals to a specialist if I choose to see one. I am a nurse and I do not need their lectures. As a patient, I have the right to autonomy and when I choose it, to use it. And it was an anonymous entry. Answer. Primary care doctors recommend screening tests because we prefer to find serious conditions earlier rather than later. As a nurse, you may not have seen a person who comes in with obstruction colon cancer and terrible pain, who will then be treated through a necessary emergency surgery that is still unable to cure the disease. Primary care doctors see many cases of prostate and breast cancer, and we know that treating enough of these cases will prevent a few people from dying of these diseases. We believe in the effectiveness of preventive care. It's certainly true that it's your body and your choice, but understanding why we recommend health screening might make you less infuriated when we do. I am also concerned about what seems to be a dismissive attitude towards the role of your primary care provider, such as a family medicine doctor, internist, or nurse practitioner. We aren't here to simply send you to a specialist and refill prescriptions. Primary care practitioners save lives not only through health screenings, but by conducting a careful history exam and really listening to a patient who may have noticed symptoms that indicate something serious. We do a physical exam to try to identify diseases in their early stages. I have many patients who are nurses and physicians, and we work together as partners, each with the goal of promoting wellness, treating disease if it's present, and trying to identify early signs of serious problems. I hope you consider this approach and that you will find your meetings more productive. Another is, Dear Dr. Roach, please address and issue the issue of UTIs, urinary tract infections, in elderly women. It's happened to 3 of my friends and myself. We're in our 70s and 80s, and one has a son who's a doctor. In all 4 instances, it took hospitalization to diagnose the urine infection. Please tell doctors to understand that this happens quickly and without warning. Why are they so surprised and reluctant to give antibiotics when this happens? In the elder, UTIs can happen without any symptoms until they and their families realize how confused they are. It's so unnecessary. I know I keep testing strip supplies, and I don't wait until I start losing my grip on reality and know there's a problem. Please bring awareness of this problem to the public and to doctors. M.H. Answer. Urinary infections, like lung and other infections, often have vague or non-existent symptoms in older people until the condition is fairly advanced. Sometimes confusion is the first symptom. A condition known as acute delirium, which is dangerous. I certainly agree that physicians need to take confusion seriously as a symptom of potentially severe illness, and that testing for urine infections is wise. However, there are many other conditions like pneumonia or meningitis that can also cause confusion, so I don't agree with prescribing antibiotics without careful evaluation. Older women with recurrent urine infections should be considered for treatment such as prophylactic antibiotics, but they should also be considered for hormone therapy to prevent bacteria from getting into their bladder in the first place. I also use urine test strips for some of my patients in this situation. Dr. Roach regrets that he is unable to answer individual letters, but will incorporate them in a column whenever possible. Readers may email questions to yourgoodhealth@med.cornell.edu. And this is an article that is copywritten by 2025 North America Syndicate Incorporation, all rights reserved. Okay. Trump administration may withhold SNAP funds from states that don't share data. Washington. The Trump administration says it will withhold funds for administering SNAP food aid in most Democratic-controlled states starting next week, unless they provide data about those receiving the assistance. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins said Tuesday that the action is looming because these states are refusing to provide requested information about the recipients, including their names and immigration status. Oh dear. She says it's necessary that the states comply to root out fraud in the program. Democratic states have sued to block the requirement. About 42 million lower-income Americans rely on SNAP to help buy groceries. The USDA said it is targeting states' administrative funds, not the benefits people receive. Oh dear. Okay, so that's finished. Opinion page, December the 3rd. Okay. Fire district. Change never comes easy here. This is Observer's view. No matter where you get fire protection, there will be a higher price. With a vote looming on Tuesday regarding the commissioners of Bay Creek Fire District, there is a sentiment, as usual, that change is not good. Last week, Hanover Center Fire Department sent a letter to residents that noted that as of January the 1st, it will no longer be first responding department to emergency calls by residents north of King Road. All properties on the north side of the King Road are now part of the Bay Creek Fire District, along with other properties from King Road to Route 5 and 20 that were formerly in the Hanover Center Fire Center protection area. The new Bay Creek Fire District, made up of Silver Creek and Sunset Bay departments, will be dispatched first. In addition, Hanover Center stated in a letter, quote, "You will also now be paying a rate of increase of 45% more for fire protection. Do not to mention your fire insurance rating will change due to the additional distance from the fire departments with no water supply," end quote. This region has proven throughout the decades it is stubborn when new proposals come forward. Hanover Center is not wrong for its benefits. Members are dedicated to serving the community, but they're also part of the discussions that are taking place last spring in the town regarding the district they decided to opt out. North Lake Fire District, which is comprised of former DeWittville, Hartville, and Mayville fire departments, has seen some successes and struggles. Overall, the sentiment has been that the group is stronger as one than being three separate entities. As we all know, that's a tough message to get through to so many who believe the status quo has been working just great, even though history shows it is not. A commentary: strong neighbors grow communities. In Westfield, we're surrounded by quiet beauty, vineyards rolling towards the lake, a main street steeped in history, and neighbors who still wave from their porches. Yet beneath this familiar charm, many of us sense something is missing. We live near one another, but not always with one another. We share a town, but not always a shared life. This is not just a Westfield story. It's something felt across small towns everywhere. But here, the possibility for renewal is at hand. Over the years, social life, many communities has thinned. Churches and civic groups have fewer young people stepping into leadership. Local clubs struggle to fill their rosters. We interact online far more than in person. The traditions that once pulled us together in the same orbit, community suppers, volunteer projects, intergenerational gatherings, has happened less often, with fewer hands helping. Still, the desire for connection has never fully gone away. You can hear it in conversation at the diner, where people talk about how much they miss the old rhythms of town life. You can feel it in the summer festivals when residents linger longer than they need to simply because being together feels good. Excuse me. You see it whenever a neighbor faces hardship and community instinctively rallies to offer food, rides, or support. The raw material for a stronger community life is here. What's missing is the commitment to weave these impulses into something consistently present. Good point. This rebuilding doesn't require sweeping policies or massive budgets. It starts small. A family hosts a neighbor potluck. A group of volunteers take on the neglected community space. Local businesses collaborate to create monthly gatherings that pull residents into shared space. Teachers, retirees, farmers, young families, and longtime locals sit at the same table and ask the same question: what do we want Westfield to be together? Community is built through repeated acts of showing up, through choosing to be involved, not just present, through committing to one another even when it's inconvenient. What if we treated Westfield not just as a place where we live, but as a place we help shape actively, intentionally, and collectively? This town has history, has the character, the heart for that work. What we need now is willingness to take the first steps, show up, reach out, and start something, revive something, invite someone. A stronger Westfield won't come from any single initiative. It will come from a renewed sense that we belong to each other and that this is a beginning. Belonging. It will come from a renewed sense that we belong to each other, and that this is belonging is worth cultivating. The future of the community begins with the communities we make today, commitments we make today, and Westfield is ready for a renewal that only its own people can create. This is a comment from Mariah Updike, and she's a Westfield resident. There is a cartoon by I can't really read what that is. Silly, maybe? C. Wiley? Anyway, there's a news person making a comment on the TV, and there's a couple sitting there looking at a newspaper, and the newspaper says, labor market weakens, layoffs accelerate, and the newscaster is saying, the deranged assailant who allegedly doused a female train passenger with gasoline and set her on fire had been arrested more than 70 times. And then the comment of one of the people in the cartoon says, it seems like the only people with job security anymore are the career criminals. That's cute. It's sad, but true. Okay, then also on the opinion page is Bedford Sprints, Delights in Christmas Charm. This is Selena Zito, Bedford, Pennsylvania. A highly anticipated Christmas display in Pennsylvania that is both delicious and whimsical is the Omni Bedford Springs Hotel in Bedford County. It transforms one of its main entrances into a culinary delight whose aroma hits your sensory palate long before you walk through the nearly 200-year-old front door. What began as a small decorative house has become a full-scale work of culinary art under executive pastry chef Harshal Naik. Known for his appearance on Ford Network's Holiday Baking Championship, he has taken it to the next level over the past 5 years. Guests and day visitors feel immersed in display, from sprawling villages to candy cane streets to last year's functioning gingerbread carousel. Sounds cool. Nayak is standing outside of his masterpiece, a 4-foot wide, 9-foot deep, 11-foot tall gingerbread home, trying to get the coconut snow from clogging the train tracks of the Polar Express train that's chugging along inside the window of the life-size gingerbread home. Everything is edible. Well, almost, he said with a smile. The lobby is filled with people, young and old, peering into the window and all around the white picket fence, also edible. A family is gathered around the fireplace, waiting to see what Santa is going to bring them as St. Nick himself is leaving through the top of the chimney. Nick points to the fondant clothing, marshmallow and coconut snow, and intricate details that give the display texture, illustrating that, yes, everything is edible, well, except for the train. We had several pastry women whose ages span 40 years who worked several hours a day for over a month constructing this, he explained, adding that everyone was up for the challenge. All in all, they used nearly 400 pounds of gingerbread dough to make over 5,000 bricks held together by 50 gallons of royal icing instead of grout. Nick was adding the final starlight candles and miniature gingerbread men when we visited. The Bedford Springs Resort is one of the nation's oldest hotels. Its beginnings are traced to our frontier days when people first enjoyed the 7 mineral springs that flow through this valley. In 1805, an enterprising doctor turned the center of the springs into America's first grand resort. The springs, the quote, end quote, springs, as it is known both colloquially and by treasured guests from around the country, is drenched in classic Christmas revelry. Blintz's, the resort speaks easy, is tucked behind the luxurious indoor pool, and is a step back in time, offering unique seasonal cocktails and mocktails. Children love the festive Shirley temples. Visiting families can enjoy breakfast at the North Pole, and Sunday featured grand illumination when the guests are seemingly the entire town of Bedford gather outside the hotel, where Santa Claus led a downtown lit, towering Christmas tree that sits on top of the space in the center of the roundabout outside the inn. Since its reopening 20 years ago after sitting dormant for an equal amount of time, Bedford Springs hasn't just welcomed visitors to its majestic lobby, restaurants, taverns, golf club, cozy rooms. It has changed the fortunes of the community through employing 450 people, revitalizing the picture-perfect small town that is lined with unique small businesses in Main Street grid, with barely a trace of national stores inside. There isn't a shop or restaurant to be found in town that doesn't credit the Springs for its prosperity. The hotel generously recommends shops and restaurants to visitors. Drive through the town, and each post along the street has garlands draping along the sidewalks, evergreen bells with bright red ribbons crossing between the telephone poles, like a scene out of It's a Wonderful Life, Bedford Falls streetscape. If you're looking for a place that evokes a nostalgic place for Christmas, Bedford Springs does just that. Whether for a day trip or a night or two spent walking through the halls decorated with trees and dioramas. You can sit in the library and enjoy a rich collection of books, play chess, or sit by the fireplaces in the lobby. Each room tells a story that welcomes you for the day or the night, and it is what small-town America does best, celebrating your presence with a welcome that feels like you've just come home. Sally Zito is a staff reporter and columnist for the Washington Examiner. She reaches the every man and every woman through the shoe leather journalism, traveling from Main Street to the Beltway and all the places in between. To find out more about Selena and read her past columns, please visit Creators Syndicate webpage at www.creators.com. Well, that certainly sounds lovely. That sounds really nice. Jamestown, local region. Jamestown man sues after August motorcycle crash by John Whitaker. Jamestown. A Jamestown man is suing the company that owns Enterprise Rental Cars and two Warren County, Pennsylvania residents following an August motorcycle crash in Jamestown. A lawsuit filed in state Supreme Court in Mayville on November the 28th on behalf of Roy Lovelace of Jamestown seeks unspecified damages from EAN Holdings, LLC, the company that counts Enterprise Rentals among its holdings. Also named in the lawsuit are Penny Myers and Stephen Myers, Warren County residents who were allegedly driving a 2003 Jeep owned by EN Holdings when it was involved in an August 10th, 2025 accident with a motorcycle on Barrett Avenue at the intersection of Barrett Avenue ramp in Jamestown. The lawsuit alleges EN Holdings, LLC, rented or leased vehicles to Stephen Myers while the vehicle was allegedly driven by Stephanie Myers on August the 10th when it collided with the motorcycle Lovelace was driving. The lawsuit alleges Stephanie Myers was in the scope of her employment while operating the vehicle, though the lawsuit doesn't say whether or not Myers was working for the EN Holdings company or not. The lawsuit alleges some of the Lovelace injuries are permanent and will require future medical care, while Lovelace also alleged missing substantial periods of time from job. The incident, quote, the incident and resulting injuries were caused by the negligent, wanton, reckless, and careless acts of the defendants, their agents, servants, and or employees. Herein, and as a result thereof, this plaintiff sustained serious and severe personal injuries, has been prevented from attending his usual activities and duties, has sought and will continue to need medical care and treatment, has sustained pain and suffering, and sustained financial loss. Attorney Michael Feldman, Finkelstein and Partners, LLP of Newburgh, New York, said in the legal complaint. The site of the accident is the intersection that was redesigned a few years ago in an attempt to try to reduce traffic accidents in the area after it had been flagged as a safety hazard. The public works crew eliminated the Y-shaped intersection with a small cross street leading to Prather Avenue from Baker Street, crossing Barrett Avenue. In its place is a new intersection that leads to a T intersection where Barrett Avenue meets Prather, and then another T intersection, Prather Avenue meets Baker. You got to realize that this intersection is laid out in the early 1900s for probably horse and carriage. And with the traffic flow we have today, it's a very unsafe intersection. Jeff Lehman, former City Public Works Director, said during the City Council's April 19th, 2021 meeting. Area Police. Ellicott Police Department. Sean W. Bailey, 18, of Randolph, was charged November the 15th with petty larceny. According to the police, officers responded to Crosby Convenience Store on Route 60 for a reported larceny where it's alleged Bailey entered the store and took merchandise. Bailey then ran out of the store with merchandise without paying. Bailey was identified and turned himself into police. He will be in Ellicott Town Court later. Then there's Sean A. Sobzak, 38, of Jamestown, was charged November the 24th with petty larceny and 7th-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance. According to police, at about 9 a.m., police officers responded to a report of larceny at the Budget Inn. While he was moving out, it is alleged that Sobzak had removed items belonging to the motel. Sobzak was located a short time later with the property. The police said upon further investigation, it was found that Sobzak allegedly had an amount of meth on his person, and he will be in town court later. Then Akeem T. Sims, 32, of Jamestown, was charged November the 29th with second-degree criminal contempt. According to police, officers responded to a Celeron address where it is alleged Sims was inside a residence where a victim had an order of protection against Sims. Sims was placed into custody and taken to the Chautauqua County Jail. He will be in town court later. Then there's Chautauqua County Sheriff's Department. Angel M. Travis, 23, of Westfield, was charged November the 30th with driving while intoxicated, DWI per se, having no or inadequate headlamp, having an expired registration, and consumption of alcohol in a motor vehicle. According to officials, at about 11:36 p.m., the deputies conducted a traffic stop on East Main Street in the village of Westfield for observed traffic infractions. Upon further investigation, it was determined that Angel allegedly was driving while being intoxicated. She was placed in custody and transported to the Chautauqua County Jail. She will be in Westfield Town Court later. And let's see. Crackdown on trucking schools won't disrupt industry, but losing immigrants will. Everything the Trump administration has done this year to strengthen and enforce the standards for truck drivers and schools that train them after several deadly crashes may cause problems for some companies if immigrants continue to flee the profession rather than deal with harassment and scrutiny. Trucking company owner David Atwell said he has lost drivers who are afraid to go on the road or can't get their license renewed, but national trucking groups and experts believe that the industry will largely be able to handle the load without major disruptions. Right now, there are more drivers than needed in the midst of a prolonged drop in shipments because of the economy uncertainty over the past 3 years. Man charged in National Guard shooting pleads not guilty during court appearance from hospital. Washington, a man accused of shooting two National Guard troops near the White House has pled not guilty to first-degree murder and assault charges. I can't really pronounce this. Ramanullah Lakhanawal made his initial court appearance by video from a hospital bed for charges of stemming from November the 26th shooting that killed specialist Sarah Beckstrom and wounded Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. Lachenwall, who was shot during the confrontation, was in a hospital bed during the hearing, and his attorney entered his not guilty plea on his behalf. It says there's at the Rockefeller Arts Center a doo-wop Christmas, Thursday, December the 11th at 7:30 at King Concert Hall. SUNY Fredonia. The tickets are available 24/7 at fredonia.edu/tickets or call 716-673-3501 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it's sponsored by Lakeshore Bank. And let's see what else is there here. Okay, Wall Street report. Wall Street holds steadier as bond yields, Bitcoin stabilizes. New York. The U.S. stock market held steady on Tuesday as both bond yields and Bitcoin stabilized. The S&P 500 rose 0.2% following its first loss in 6 days. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added 185 points, or 0.4%, and the NASDAQ Composite gained 0.6%. Boeing soared 10.1% and was one of the strongest forces lifting the S&P 500. Chief Financial Officer Jay Malave said that the plane maker expects growth next year in an underlying measure of how much cash it produces. MongoDB also helped lead the market and jumped 22.2% after the database company delivered stronger results for the latest quarter than analysts expected. United Foods climbed 4.6% after reporting a stronger profit than expected. They helped offset a 6.8% drop for Signet Jewelers, which gave a forecast for revenue in the holiday shopping season that fell short of analysis expectations. The jeweler said it's expecting a measured consumer environment, end quote. Another potential warning about U.S. shoppers' strength came from the chief financial officer for Procter & Gamble, the giant behind Tide detergent and Ivory soap. Andre Schulten said the landscape for U.S. consumer is volatile at the moment, though still within the company's expectation. Procter & Gamble has slipped 1.1%. The U.S. economy has been holding up overall, but that's masking sharp divisions beneath the surface. Lower-income households are struggling with inflation that's still higher than anyone would like. Richer households, meanwhile, are benefiting from a stock market that's within 1% of its all-time high set late October. In the bond market, Treasury yields calmed following their jump the day before. The 10-year yield was down 4 and 0.8% from 4.9% late Monday, while the 2-year yield eased 3.51% from 3.54%. Higher yields can drag prices lower for all kinds of investments, and those seen are most expense can take the biggest hit. Bitcoin, which tumbled below 85,000 on Monday, is now, as bond yield worldwide march higher, pulled back from 91,000. That helped stocks of several crypto-related companies bounce back from sharp slides on Monday. Not sure I understand that, but okay. Strategy climbed 5.8% and more than made up for its Monday's loss. Coinbase Global gained 1.3%, and Robinhood Markets rose 2.2% to recover some of their drops from the day before. All told, the S&P 500 rose 16.74 points to 6,829.37. Dow Jones Industrial Average added 185.13 points and to 47,474.46. And the NASDAQ Composite gained 137.75 to 413.67. Monday's climb on Treasury yields came after the Bank of Japan hinted that it may raise interest rates there soon. but hopes are still high that the Federal Reserve will cut its main interest rate when it meets in Washington next week. What comes after that for the Fed, though, it's uncertain. The Fed has already cut its overnight interest.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another